The Browns starting to look for that new defensive coordinator. They confirmed that today out in Berea, Jim Schwartz, assistant with the Titans, longtime defensive coordinator, has some head coaching experience, is in Berea to interview for the open defensive coordinator's job. This is from an article, Super Bowl week 2018, when Schwartz was the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, playing in that Super Bowl. As a high school player, Schwartz was tough and fearless combined with his smarts. He made him everything you'd want in a player. He'd kick your butt and outthink you while doing it. We go a little bit further into that same article. Now in Philadelphia, coordinating the NFL's fourth stingiest defense. That was the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. The degree which he transformed the Eagles' D cannot be overstated. It was a wreck. He turned them into the defense that was a lot like him. Not the fastest, but more than fast enough. It was smart and studious. It didn't make a ton of mistakes and made opposing offenses pay if they do. Let's welcome in Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for The Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. Mary Kay, there are some ties to both Andrew Berry and the Browns for Jim Schwartz. Mentioned the Eagles. That's Andrew Berry was part of that organization with Howie Roseman. He started his career as a scout for Bill Belichick. I know you're aware of him. What is the MO, if you will, for Schwartz?
Well, first and foremost, I think, you really have to look at those early formative years when he worked here in Cleveland as a scout under Bill Belichick and Mike Lombardi. He had to learn the Belichick way back then. He was part of the 2020 group, the guys in their 20s that were making in their 20s, and they were very, very hard. They were a very close-knit group. They still all have fond memories of those days together, building what they built together here, which was really, the foundation of what the Patriots went on to become. So he's part of that, family. And, and I know that he looks back on those years as, some of the most valuable in his career. And then, as you mentioned, he worked for the Philadelphia Eagles as defensive coordinator there for 5 years under Howie Roseman was the GM at the time, and Andrew Berry was the vice president of football operations there in 2019. So they got to know each other there. But the thing about Jim Schwartz, I think, is that you just wouldn't have to worry about him. You could just turn the defense over to him, and then Kevin can really spend most of his time on the offensive side of the ball and know that everything was going to work like clockwork over there.
And again, it's important to note, been a defensive coordinator not only for the Eagles, was a defensive coordinator for the Titans. That got him a head coaching job. Didn't have a hugely successful head coaching run. Also was a defensive coordinator for the Bills. So it's a guy that has been around the league his entire adult life, basically.
Yeah, 14 years as a defensive coordinator. So as you look over this list of candidates, he is by far, the most qualified, or at least has the most experience out of all of these guys. So I think, that's interesting to note. And then the other thing that he has is the head coaching experience. So, and I think that's vitally important. I think it's good to have some people on your staff that know what it's like to sit in your chair, somebody that you can bounce things off of from a player standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, from a media standpoint. I mean, Jim Schwartz has seen it all in his 29 years of coaching, 4 included in the college ranks, but still, he's basically seen it all. He knows the city. He knows the landscape here, and I just think he's a great candidate.
Yeah, I would agree. The other thing that comes to mind, and you kind of said it with the Belichick way, he's has the reputation of being very much a no-nonsense type of coach.
That's right. I mean, you might not see him, laughing his head off all the time. He might not be as warm and fuzzy as everybody would want him to be. He's got, I think, a little bit more of the Nick Saban, Bill Belichick type of demeanor, where he can probably be a little bit more serious than some people might like. But I'll tell you, his players love playing for him. They'll run through a wall for him, and he gets the job done. He's really great at the defensive line, especially brings out the best in these guys, knows how to isolate a defensive end and really get the most out of him. So I think he would be great for Myles Garrett and the other defensive linemen. I think he would be good at sort of driving the bus and helping them fix the defensive tackle situation. And there's just a lot of pluses to it.